Again here from Temple Ambler. I am the Assistant Director of Campus and Student Engagement, and today we're going to talk about how to set up your tent. So before we get to the actual setting up of a tent, it's really important to think about where you're going to set up a tent, and a lot of that has to do with safety and comfort. When setting up a tent for Campout on September 27th through the 28th, we will have different spots all over campus set up and ready for each group. So you won't have to think about it too much. We'll have already thought through the safety aspects. Safety being, is the ground flat? Is there anything that's going to poke you in the middle of the night? Now you might think, oh, that's just a little pebble, that's just a little stick. But when you're sleeping without your really thick mattress like you would at home, a little stick and a little pebble will make a difference. So that's safety and comfort, right? You don't want to get a bruise in your back and you want to sleep well. The other bigger part about safety is you want to look up before you pick your spot. Is there anything up in the sky that could fall down on you? So that could be the weather, that could be how hot the temperature is. Is the sun going to bake the inside of your tent all afternoon and make it really hot before you go to bed at night? Not be very, conducive to sleep? Or is there any limbs above you from the trees that are what we would call widow makers? Now that's not a very gender inclusive term, but it does mean that they are close to falling down and breaking because they're dry and just ready to fall off that tree. You don't want to have your tent underneath there. And last but not least, of course, you want dry ground. You don't want anything too close to a water source or too close to anything that could cause any runoff. So I've picked this spot here. It's in front of the Temple Ambler Bright Hall. There will definitely be spots available in this area at Campout on September 27th through 28th. And in a minute, I'm going to start setting up my tent. One of the things I make sure, because I mentioned dry earlier, is I want to make sure that the bottom of my tent stays dry. You can do this with a couple different things. You can bring a big tarp. I always like to have an extra one with my supplies. Or you can bring the tarp, or sometimes they call it a footprint if they're fancy. Before going on my trip, I always make sure I have everything I'm going to need for my tent. So these will be my stakes. Sorry, those are my poles. These are my stakes. That's my footprint, as I mentioned earlier. And this is the tent itself. For the type of camping we'll be doing here at Campout on September 27th through the 28th, you don't have to have the nicest, most expensive tent. Especially if this is your first time, I suggest feeling very comfortable in borrowing somebody else's tent. We'll have staff on hand to help you in setting things up if you have questions. From Temple, if you're interested in coming to Campout but you don't have the gear, we have access to some and we would love to make this adventure possible for you. So reach out. We have the gear, we have the availability to help you with transportation, and we'd love to get you here for the Campout on September 27th through the 28th. My next step is to get my stuff inside, my sleeping pad, sleeping bag, anything else I want to keep dry before it's time for sleeping, and then make sure that I zip it up so those mosquitoes can't get inside before I do. So see y'all later.